Happy Thursday, Facebook friends. Welcome back to Facebook. I'm Angie Garza, Director of Professional Learning and Educational Services at ROE 47, serving Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. And if you're joining us back here on Facebook this fine Thursday, you will know that it's time for another edition of Teacher Talk. And as many of you know, Facebook community, we have been spending a lot of time over the last several years talking about our educator shortage, not only here in Northwest Illinois, but across the state and across the nation. We need educators. And so you also will know as we have this conversation about the need and shortage that we're facing in our field, that we at ROE 47, in partnership with Sauk Valley Community College and almost every single one of our school districts in Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties, have been working to build a pipeline, a pathway for future educators through the Pathway Endorsement Program for Education, funded by a grant from the Illinois State Board of Education. And so that's what we are going to be talking about here today on Teacher Talk. We have just a remarkable guest that we're going to introduce here in just a moment. But before we get to our special guest for this morning, I am super proud and excited to introduce and welcome to Teacher Talk my friend, colleague, and co-host, Ms. Stacy Dingus. And Stacy, we say this all the time. You are wearing a dual hat this morning as we have this conversation because you are deeply entrenched in the work of pathway endorsements, both from the agriculture and education standpoint. And we are talking today, this morning, our special guest is from Amboy High School in the Amboy School District, your hometown, and students that and teachers that you work very closely with over the year. And so this has to be a particularly proud and wonderful moment as we talk all things endorsements and the interesting and unique work that our students are engaged in even before they exit high school.
Very happy to be on this Teacher Talk today. Yes, I have mentioned before that one of the interesting things that I get to do in my job at the ROE is work on the Pathway program. Specifically, I work with Amboy schools. And so working with Amboy schools sometimes allows me to work with students that used to sit in my classroom as my student. And so it really is a joy today to chat with one of my favorites, a young man that sat in my classroom years ago, now is doing great things at Amboy High School. And hopefully someday will come back as a teacher in our community, maybe even in our school at Amboy. So excited to get this Teacher Talk going and kind of promote all things education pathway.
We had a few moments to chat with our special guest this morning before we pushed the record button on our Teacher Talk. And I just have to say, I was deeply surprised, given the few minutes that I had been talking with him, that Micah Miller is a sophomore at Amboy High School. I thought for certain he was a senior and on his way to university, just by the focus and enthusiasm that he demonstrated for being a future educator. And so as we get started this morning, I am so happy to welcome to our Teacher Talk platform, Micah Miller, as I mentioned, sophomore at Amboy High School. Micah, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your class schedule this morning to talk with us a little bit about what's going on in the education pathway at Amboy High School, as well as a little bit about yourself and your passion for education. So as we kick it off this morning, if you wouldn't mind, I hear that you are very involved and engaged in your school community. So tell us all about Micah.
I am currently vice class president. I am a part of student council. I am vice president of the Leos Club. I'm in yearbook, and now I'm in the Pathways program.
Micah, let's talk a little bit more about this education pathway program. And I'm prefacing this kind of with what Angie said, that you're at the beginning of this process. A lot of times we feature students who are seniors and who have earned their endorsement or almost done. So it's interesting to kind of switch gears here and talk to someone who is just kind of starting the process. So tell us a little bit about, what does the education pathway program look like at Amboy High School? Who's in charge of it? What are the expectations? And with that, also maybe tell us a little bit about once you're enrolled in that class, the opportunities that you get to partake in, and inside and outside the classroom. Because I think recently you also just did some college and career exploration down at Illinois State University. So tell us a little bit about kind of education pathway at Amboy High School.
So you take a class which is taught by Miss Bus, and with this class, you essentially learn what it's like to be a teacher, and like you get to do observations throughout elementary, middle school, and high school. And you also get to go on different field trips, like the Illinois State field trip, which is basically where you're put into different breakout rooms and you learn about the type of teacher you want to be and what that college offers. And yeah, it's like a really exciting experience to get to essentially explore the career that you want. And you get to do like different challenges. Like we just got done doing the science club, which is where we went and taught science to third and fourth grade students. And the big thing with Science Club was connecting it to what they were learning in the classroom and kind of branching off and just making it one big thing of knowledge. So they did body energy, wind energy, chemical energy, and kinetic and potential energy. And like before this, there was a lot of lesson planning. Like I made a poster. One of my classmates like laminated a bunch of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of planning that went into it. So like teaching the kids, they were very rambunctious, but they had a really good time with it. And that was like the most exciting thing to see is like them like making the connection and like understanding the topic.
I love to hear that. As you were sharing, I'm not sure if our Facebook community, if our viewers here on Teacher Talk realize the amount of work and commitment that goes into actually pursuing an endorsement in education. You mentioned career exploration. That's an important part of the endorsement and a requirement. There are 2 team-based challenges, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. You're engaging in some intentional coursework to prepare you for that field of education, including 6 dual credit hours in the field of education. And there are numerous observations and a 60-hour, what we call a supervised experience, where you're actually acting as an educator in the classroom. And so by the time you graduate, you are just, as we mentioned, you are just starting on this journey. By the time you graduate, you're going to have a lot of tools in your toolkit. You're going to have lots of experiences under your belt. And that is just incredible. And as far as thinking about what you're going to be going to post-secondary with, and just all of those experiences and reflections on what you want to do and maybe even what you don't want to do in education. And we'll also talk more about that later. But I want to circle back to this idea of a team-based challenge, because you mentioned working with students on those science concepts. So the team-based challenge that you and a few of your classmates put together, developed, implemented, you got to see the smiles and the light bulbs from students as you worked with them, was related to a science club at Amboy Central. So I'm wondering if you could go into just a little bit more detail about what that experience was and what it was like, including, how many students did you work with? And you mentioned planning. What was involved with the planning? How did you work together? What did it feel like to be in front of little people? So we're just interested in hearing more about that from your perspective.
So we dealt with about 30 kids and they had a really good time with it and like they understood the topic. They liked doing experiments, they liked using like glue and scissors. So I did a cut and paste activity and I also made a poster to like give them like a visual aid to like understand the topic. And to plan it, we just essentially lesson planned and I actually changed my lesson multiple times to like fit their needs after like observing because I was like the third person to do it. So after like watching it a couple of times, I just changed it all completely to make it something that they would like.
I would like you to tell me, what were you most surprised by, or what's something that you walked away thinking like, I hadn't considered that, or I hadn't thought about that. And then also, what was your favorite thing about the team-based challenge experience?
My favorite thing about the team-based challenge was working with my classmates and just seeing what their ideas were and just like bouncing off one another and just like connecting like all the topics that we were doing and just making it like one big thing. And I really liked working with the little kids, but like I couldn't do that every day.
That's part of this whole process. And I think I made that comment to you when we were doing the team-based challenge, the science club. I think I said you're supposed to have those feelings because the whole point of this pathway program is to really get a hands-on experience prior to high school graduation. So you have a better idea about what your future looks like, a more realistic idea. So I love that you were able to kind of figure that out early on in this process. And it'll be interesting as you spend more time in different grade levels in different content areas if you start to change even kind of what you're thinking right now, which leads me into my last question, kind of twofold. I want you to tell us a little bit about your future plans, and then I want you to tell us why education. We have mentioned several times in this teacher talk that you are only a sophomore, but you have said several times off before we were recording and now you want to be a teacher and you can't imagine doing anything else. So why are you picking this career of education? Did someone inspire you? Was there a specific moment in time that you think, I want to do that, I want to be a teacher? And then tell us a little bit about what does after Amboy High School look like for you?
I really liked like in the classroom helping my classmates and just like watching that like light bulb go off and then like understanding the topic was like exhilarating and it was like very exciting just to watch them do that. After high school, I want to go to the Ohio State University and study secondary language arts and English education.
Okay, Micah, you don't get off the hook that easy. From as a former English teacher, I need you to expand upon that answer. Like, what is it that is calling you to secondary English education? What do you enjoy about English language arts, and what do you think that you would enjoy about teaching it?
I've just like always loved reading. I like writing papers and like I just want to like work with that and like do that with like other kids. And like I feel like little kids, like their books and our books are like two completely different things. And like I want to enjoy that. And I feel like older kids have a more like bigger concept about society as a whole. So it'd be like easier to have like group discussions about like books and like different topics.
Love that. That's incredible. I'm hopeful that part of your 60-hour experience puts you into a high school English classroom so that you can try it on and see if that is something that indeed is a great fit. But certainly excited for you as you continue on your journey. As we keep saying, you're just I it almost sounds bad. You're just a sophomore, but you're just a sophomore. And it's incredible that you're already, again, putting tools in your toolkit and having all these wonderful experiences to help shape and inform your future. And from that teacher point of view, I just want to, I like to do this sometimes when we're talking. I write down things that stand out. So, when you were reflecting on your experiences in the team-based challenge and kind of talking about and reflecting on why you want to be an educator, I saw aspects of you being very responsive to student needs by, changing some of those lesson plans, and collaborative. That is a wonderful quality to have in education in working with fellow teachers. Coherence, making sure that the learning makes sense and is unfolding in an appropriate and engaging way. And what I appreciate most is that you reflected that you love those light bulb moments, which I think is one of the reasons why many of us are called to this vocation. We love seeing students learn and take great joy in seeing those light bulb moments. So just wanted to just kind of highlight some of those things for you. I didn't know if you realized that you kind of said things that were very teachery. So it certainly sounds like you are in the right place, not only from a vocational standpoint, but also in working with Ms. Stacy Dingus on continuing your educational journey. So we are so excited for you, and Stacy, deeply appreciative of all the work that you do on the education pathway and the work that you do in the Amboy School District. Facebook friends, that wraps us up for this edition of Teacher Talk. We hope that you have enjoyed our conversation this morning with Amboy High School sophomore Micah Miller, future educator, future attendee of Ohio State University, and hopefully coming back to the Amboy School District or our Lee, Ogle, Whiteside County area to teach sometime here in the near future. We hope as we close out this Teacher Talk this morning that you have an enjoyable rest of your Thursday, a wonderful and relaxing Friday, a warm winter weekend, and we will see you right back here next Thursday for another edition of Teacher Talk.